So over the weekend, and I talked about this earlier. Over the weekend, Nick Fuentes teased that he was going to do a Twitter space and expose Baked Alaska. He was going to expose him, and it concerns Shalit. If you're joining us late and you weren't here earlier or you don't know who he was a streamer, part of the Groyper Circle, America First. I think they were using that name by then, maybe, but I don't know if they were using it as much of a brand as they are now. Seems like they were. Yeah, it was 2020, so. He was a very popular streamer on D Live. Stream cutting. As soon as I go to this, that's funny. All right, let's wait. Is it okay? Press 1 if the stream's okay. Somebody speculated that maybe restream. I might try that. Press 1 if the stream is good. Before I go into the whole. Okay. All right, good. Okay, I'll reach at that perspective. Yeah, there you go. Okay, looks like it's good. So anyway, Shalit was supposedly, he was a friend of Baked for sure, and went to his house and they hung out. He was supposed to be a friend of Beardson, and was part of the Groypers or whatever. Well, he was drawing a lot of views and doing some great coverage, and he had a drug problem. I sympathize with that a lot for a lot of reasons. I think you could probably guess them. And particularly, I don't know what it is. I feel like a lot of entertainers, and that's what we are as streamers, have drug problems, have alcohol problems, women problems. It seems to be, it's not everybody, but it seems to be a pretty common thing in comedians and actors and stuff like that. And I don't want to get too deep with it, but usually there's almost, I don't know if it's something missing or what it is that compels people to want to be known, to want to be famous, arguably infamous, as I always say. But I remember being a child and thinking I should be famous. I've admitted that before, but I don't say it too often because it sounds almost insane. But I remember vividly being a kid and wanting to be famous and literally practicing my signature because I'm like, I'm gonna be famous one day. I need to have a badass signature. Not kidding. I would have pages of me like just, and of course it's to waste time too. It's kind of a time sink. But I used to think that all the time. Perspicacity says I think a lot of people think about being famous, especially as a kid. Yeah, but I thought about it a lot. And then when I got older, it's like, oh, I was gonna go to law school and do some stuff. I did get my degree in political science, but I fucked up a little bit in college, so my GPA was low, and I would have had to go take some more classes basically to boost my GPA, and then take the LSAT and all this stuff. So I decided smoking weed, playing video games was a lot more important than that. And they wouldn't give me any more student loans either because I had kind of dropped a lot of classes, etc. So yeah, and I was always the class clown, perspicacity. I don't know. It's just always been like in me for some reason. And I decided, well, okay, law school's probably out with the trajectory I was on back then. So I said I'll be a writer. And I still have the outline. Of course, I want to write a different book now, but I had this fictionalized version, basically Romana Clef, which is a novel with a key. So if you're familiar with Primary Colors, they made it into a movie, but it was a famous book when I was a kid, and it was written by Joel Klein, who is Jewish. He was the Time magazine politics correspondent, basically campaign guy, and he wrote a book about the Clinton campaign and the 1992 run for president. But he changed everybody's names and added a few fictionalized elements so that he could tell certain stories that he knew And clearly some of these people were like real life people, and it was very clear on purpose. But he could tell these stories without them being like officially on the record and like attributable to him and like officially naming those people. And it was one of the most famous political books probably ever, definitely in the 90s. And now eventually they figured out who it was. There's a reason. It was written by Anonymous at first, and for I think a couple of years nobody knew who wrote it. I forget how they found out, but they did find out, and so he was outed as the author. They ended up making a movie, which I like the movie a lot too. But I had a version of that I was gonna do that because I always loved that book, honestly, and that whole idea. And yeah, he got doxxed. That's literally what happened. That's what happens, guys. Like, look, this whole no doxing thing is a fucking fantasy land bullshit. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Now, if you can maintain your anonymity, that's great. But this whole, oh, they can't dox me. Oh, yes, they can, and yes, they will, and yes, they have, and yes, they'll do it again. So this whole, oh, doxing, oh, no, you're living in a fantasy land. So anyway, I won't preach on that again. But I had a version of that I was going to write about my childhood in my hometown. I'll even say the title, although I don't know if I've ever said the title on air. I may have told a version of this story before. But the title of the book was Crossways Division, which was I was gonna name the book that. And because basically I lived at the crossroads of America almost, there in Memphis and West Memphis, where Highway 40 and 55 meet in Memphis, Tennessee. And they're like two of the biggest highways, and one goes all the way up from Minnesota down to New Orleans, and then the Highway 40 goes all the way across the United States from like California to Myrtle Beach, I think, something like that. So I decided that's what I was going to do. I was going to be a writer. Now, I never wrote that book, but a little thing called Gamergate happened. And so I'd already been writing a lot, and I was like, okay, well. So technically, I did become a writer, but not in the way I had planned. So that's what happened there. But I often think about, like, what's wrong with us? Yeah, I have lots of time to write now, I guess, off air, but I have to write a different book now. It has to be about all this fucking shit if I write a book. And jail and all that. But I think about it sometimes where it's like of course, normal people like watching the show and enjoying this stuff, but most of them know to like, okay, like I'm going to hang back a little bit. I'm not going to fully get involved with this because it's crazy. And where I dive in or where I'm like, yeah, a normal person's like, okay, I want to dip out over here. So I think about that sometimes. I know I got off on a rant here. Thank you, Bob Bose. If you don't know how big a compliment that is to me, he says you remind me of a modern day Hunter S. Thompson, which I mean is a compliment. Yeah, I take that as a gigantic compliment. Since I may have modeled a lot of my writing off his, but my writing is definitely gonzo, yeah, for sure. Most of it. Now not the Ali, but the Ali Alexander article that I wrote the other day only had one like Ralph slash Gonzo line in there, and I added that after, and I said something about his Twink Goon Squad. But everything else in the article is like you would read in a regular publication. But that one line about Twink Goon Squad, you wouldn't see that. Um, you wouldn't see that probably. Everything else, but that one's the one Ralphism I slipped in there, the Gonzo stuff. Also, I mean, Gawker and all that stuff, although they're kind of Gonzo too, right? Like it's coming from a certain place. But I used to read Gawker a ton growing up, Deadspin, stuff like that. And frequently those authors will insert themselves in the story too. That's a trademark of basically vulgarity, drug use, alcohol use, and inserting yourself into the story. So like you relate the story and then you give your personal thoughts on what's going on. Or frequently I would start off an article where I'm talking about what I did that day and what I was doing when I heard this information and what I'm going to be doing after, right? Like these are things that don't exist in a regular journalistic article. but they're kind of hallmarks of gonzo journalism. Yeah, stream of consciousness. Yeah, that's true too. Yeah. So I just have more fun writing like that. But I talk about that because I don't know what made Shalit want to be a streamer and want to be known, but he did want to be, right? Thank you. No more rolling doobies. No, I'm not rolling anything. No. Well, not cigarettes because I've been buying them. But I don't know what made Shalit want to do that. But I think about it. And I wasn't good friends with him. We weren't good friends, but um, I look at his case and it's like, man, it could easily been me, right? Like I think he had an OD and like somebody said he fell and hurt himself. I don't know if that's true, but I know it involved drugs, and it's like it could have easily been me that died in that way. And he was a lot younger than I was. He was, let's see, how old was he? Hold on, let's see if I can pull that up. It's on here, I think. I want to make sure I get that right. They have a link to his obituary on there. He was 19. Wait. Wait, not 19, 29. I was supposed to say, I'm fucking something up. Yeah, 29. Okay, that seems more accurate. But he was 29. Let's say he wasn't 19. He was 29. Um, you know, I could have easily died this year, last year, any number of times. I haven't told this story on air, but I fell a couple months ago, actually, before Florida, and almost broke both of my thumbs. I'm not kidding. My thumbs are still sore, actually. They're just now getting well. But I fell and tried to break my fall with my hands, and my fucking thumbs just like bent back and I almost broke both of my thumbs. They're still sore. Like I still can't. Like it's still a little pain there for sure. The left one was more fucked up, but I almost broke both of my thumbs. And even when I was in Florida, like my thumbs, and they still hurt a little bit, but like my shit was like mangled. Like I had like I took a nasty fall. I took a nasty fall, and there's stairs in my house. I mean, like literally, it could have been something else. Was I holding something? No, and I don't remember it that well, but I just like stumbled and tripped on something. It was in my bedroom. And then I like fell and like used my hands to break it, and it just didn't work. So, no, I have fallen down a set. I got thrown down a set of stairs one time, but could have been a career ender. Yeah, if I legit fucked up both my thumbs. I mean, I'm sure I could have worked around it somehow, but it was the tweeting thumbs. That's true. But I think about when I see ODs and stuff like that, especially somebody in my field. Davy Crocco died this year too. It's like, by the grace of God, that could have been me. And I see smug faggots like Nick Fuentes and Beardson, who's not even really a person. Um, and they're like, oh, drug addict this, drug addict that. Oh, and I see some of his fans on Twitter. They're like, yeah, I would have been saying that about him too. Well, you know what? Then you're a piece of garbage. I don't know what to say. You're just absolutely worthless. And Nick Fuentes is not interesting enough to have a drug habit. He has a dick in the ass habit instead. So I see that, and really, it's Fuentes because he sets the tone over there, and they're getting their marching orders from him, right? He sets the tone. He says it's okay to go after people on that level, to make that a thing. Not that I haven't made jokes or attacked people on that, but everybody knows, you know, I mean, it's almost tongue in cheek when I make those jokes because everybody knows about my drug problems, right? So it's like, yeah, it's true. I have made some jokes here and there, but it's almost like a dig on myself sometimes. I don't know if people understand that or not. But if I ever make fun of somebody for drugs, literally, I'm like, it's supposed to call back my drug use too. Like, that's the whole. I'm not sure if everybody gets that, but everybody knows about my shit, right? And so if I'm saying something like earlier today, I said, wow, Dalton looks like he's taking up heroin or whatever. And it's like, okay, well, do I really know if he has? No. Do I think he has? I don't know. Probably not. But he looks like he's on something. And yeah, it's self-effacing, really. That's right. And then like, what about you, Ralph? You just got sober after another nasty relapse. It's like, yeah, I know. It's supposed to be a joke. Right? He does though. Yeah, no, you're right, but I know. But you see a commentary like this.
Username Icemaname sent $3. Beardson is definitely on drugs. Most of those guys on Cozy are in drugs. It's obvious. They're gay and do drugs, they project. That's why I get pissed when they talk shit about you.
Yeah, and look, I'm of the firm belief that Nick Fuentes is big into cocaine, and I was on a lot of those stuff that still stops, just knowing he was on blow. So I could be wrong, but that's always been my take. But not sorry. He says, same Ralph, I've lost loved ones to drugs and I've had drug problems, so we have the past. Yeah, and look, I'm making a joke, right? Like I wouldn't say anything like what we're about to hear from Beardson because the subject's too. Now I'll make a wild joke for sure, but like I wouldn't say anything like this because it's just too near and dear to my heart, really, in my life, that I just wouldn't say that. And my first temptation, and I talked about this earlier. My first temptation was to come out here and just absolutely torch Matt Evans, who goes by the name Beardson Beardley. And I even put that on Telegram. Like, I'm going to fucking, this guy, I'm going to end him. Like, this is a disgrace. I can't believe, like, who even says this? This was supposed to be his friend as well. Like, I don't think that can be overstated enough. This was supposed to be his friend. This is not an enemy. Not that that would make it cool either, but like, okay, at least that would be understandable on a certain level. This is supposed to be his friend. And so my first inclination, and I like Shalit too, although we weren't close. My first inclination was to come out here and torch him. And to cut a Ralph a rant like you saw in the video earlier and you see on the promos. And I'm pretty good at those. But I had some discussions, and Beardson's not worth that. Beardson's not actually worth getting worked up over. Perhaps Fuentes is, just because he's so malevolent and has such an evil influence over people. But Beardson is like the fish that eat off the bottom of the ocean floor. You know what I mean? He's just there, and that's just what he does, right? Like, it's not even a real person. He doesn't have any real emotions that he hasn't been told to have by somebody else. You see what I'm saying? And so getting worked up about a person like that is really not worth it. It's not worth it. And actually, it's not, I know you're expecting a rant or me to torch him or to go off, but it's not anger I want to bring. It's not rage I want to bring. Not even the righteous indignation, which I'm fairly good at as well, although I don't dip into that quite as much. It's sadness, really. It's honestly sadness because, I mean, just think about this. Who else, even in America First, disreputable, filled with pedophiles, just the absolute dregs of society. And what makes them even more of a dreg is that they think they're elevated. I know what I am. I'm a tabloid shit talker, and I love doing it. And I think I bring some goodness into the world, but I never I know what I do. I know what this is. Even amongst that group, who else could be so hated by heaven that when they utter the "he's dead to me" line about Shalit, the poor fellow actually drops into his grave? Who else but Matt Evans, Beardson Beardley, could be just so hated by God that he would utter something like that on stream? And I've said some wild shit on stream too. But then it literally fucking happens the next day. And I'll play the clip for you if you haven't seen it.
This is the Apex Series Pro Steel Series. I like it a lot. You notice I got if you can't see it, but I got a little dancing Pepe right there. The old Shalit maneuver. No, the old Shalit. Let me face cam here for a second. Let me get back to the face cam before I even look at these cards. The old Shalit maneuver is telling somebody you want to play games with them and then pop.
Keep in mind, he's mad because Shalit didn't show up to play video games with him. Yeah, I am, Mr. Poppin. You got a problem with it? I mean, it's quite obvious. What do you mean? Am I blaming him for his death? First off, you're an idiot groper. I shouldn't even get sidetracked. Your leader just blamed Baked Alaska for his death on a fake timeline that doesn't exist. Literally 3 days ago. He said Baked had him at his house the weekend before he died and made a homosexual pass to him. Well, that didn't happen because Shalit was there in August. He died in October. So that was a lie in every way that you can possibly lie. But what is true, undeniably, is that Beardson said these things about Shalit the day before he died. The very day before he died. Now, we can't say for sure. We can't say for sure. But, I'm thinking maybe. I don't think it's a stretch. It's certainly not a stretch like Fuentes was putting out this weekend. Just absolute lie. I don't think it's crazy to think maybe this could have played a part. I mean, it would have bummed me out if my friend had said something like that about me. And you've never heard me come on air and say anything near that about a current friend that I have ever. So that's just a lie as well that you brought up in chat. But you seem to be a liar. Well, I know where those are coming from these days. So I know where that's coming from these days. Swaglord says the clip is actually from the day Shalit died. I think it's from it's from early in the morning that day. You know how streams start at 12 a.m. or something like that. So I think it was early in the day. But he was dead very close to that.
This is the Apex Series Pro Steel Series. I like it a lot. You notice I got if you can't see it, but
Shut up,
dancing Pepe
shut
right
up,
there.
Pop, and leave. I don't want you around. Leave my chat. You're gone. I don't want you here. I have zero time for you propagandists, and you're not hanging around. So fucking go kill yourself. How about that? You want me to? You want me to take it there? Leave. You're not my friend, so I don't have to play games with you. Leave. Okay. Now we're gonna get through this clip. And even that retard, I don't actually want him to kill himself, for the record. But you're not going to hang out in here spreading bullshit. Then he's like, oh, I don't even know. Let chat destroy him. I know. Perspicacy's in favor of letting everybody in his chat. But then I watch his chat, and it's one fucking retard just sitting there spamming fake shit the whole fucking show. So, with all due respect, that's not how we're going to do it here. With all due respect, I don't play that shit, so.
This is the Apex Series Pro Steel Series. I like it a lot. You notice I got if you can't see it, but I got a little dancing Pepe right there. The old Shalit maneuver. No, the old Shalit. Let me face
Yeah,
cam
the
here
chat
for a
was
second.
fucking
Let me
with
get
that
back
guy.
to the face cam before we even look at these cards. The old Shalit maneuver is telling somebody you want to play games with them, and then popping pills and getting fucked up, and then passing out while.
Username Icemaname sent $3. If you watch Beardson stream on mute, you can tell he's not going to last much longer. He looks seriously depressed. He knows he has nowhere to go and has no future prospects. I find it sad.
I mean, honestly, that's what I'm trying to get across. It is sad. And you're right. I could I let people stay in the chat, if they're, I don't like seeing just lies, right? So this guy's like, oh, I don't even know what Nick said, but da da da. It's like, okay, well, shut up then. Why are you even talking then? Yeah, you're right. Technically, I should just let it. You know what? Fine. I'll restore the dumb fuck. Fine. You know what? Fine. He's a loser who doesn't even know what he's talking about at all. That is really a pet peeve of mine. Somebody starts giving this really long take and this really long opinion. Yeah, he's reinstated. But he starts giving this really. Now he said thank you. Okay, you're welcome. But he starts giving this really long take, but it starts off with, I don't know what Nick said. Okay, well, can you just fall back for a minute then, maybe? I don't know what Nick said. Okay. Then you don't know what you're talking about. Right? That's all I'm saying. So that is like a little, I'm just like, ugh. He starts, it's literally what he said. Well, I don't really know what Nick said, but okay. All right, we'll get to it then if you don't know what he said. Anyway, I reinstated him. Perspic's a good influence on me. So I slip into my banhammer ways, banish people to ban world. Try not to banish as many people. Okay, well, you can't really address what I'm saying without talking about what Nick said, right? In my opinion. Find the clip where Nick says that, by the way. I'm trying to find it. Let me see. We're going to get to this clip someday. Where is... There it is. Okay, well, you didn't hear what Nick said? Well, you're about to hear it. And by the way, keep in mind that this is completely false. And we have the receipts. So this is another thing. And again, it's not really about Beardson. And I'll get to him more. My thoughts on him, just in general. It's really about Nick. Nick is the one who drugged this dead man out of the grave to try to use him to score points with a completely false story. First off, just leave dead people out of it, usually, I would say. But second off, damn sure don't dig them up to use a fake story to try to slander the guy who was actually their fucking friend.
Ralph Amali Respecter sent $5. When you think about the slander Nick spoke about Baked accusing him of murder, that was 10,000 times worse than anything Alex Jones ever said about SH.
I agree. It was way worse. I mean, it's literally one of the worst things I've ever seen in this space or elsewhere. So I really don't know how it's defensible on any level.
Username Ismaname sent $3 Ralph O'Malley's. We must remember. Most of these groypers are young adults or in high school. We must try to save them from the Ali
Yeah, somebody told me
Alexanders of the
that.
world. The Snowflake crew, however,
I agree.
must be burned to the fucking ground. Hey.
Thank you for that.
Fash Gordon sent $3. I'm a Catholic. I never understood the AF embrace of Catholicism. Not a single member of the clergy supports Nick nor will.
It's true.
However you choose to worship, the truth is Christianity has abandoned white people.
Well, I've heard that put forward. I'll let people take their own thing on that, but their own position on that. But yeah, he won't be getting any clerical endorsements, that's for sure. I know, it just said, hey. You know, it's funny you said that. It's funny that you said that about being more sympathetic to the rank and file. I mean, it's a cult, right? And a lot of these cultists are really young. And I was talking off air, and somebody was reiterating this to me. You know, my tendency is to burn it all down, right? And no mercy, and let God sort it out, right? And that's just kind of been my style forever. And there is a point to be made that doesn't necessarily, it's not always effective in this sort of thing.
Ralph O'Malley Respecter sent $5. All growipers are liars and victims of a pedophile cult.
Yeah.
Glad I got out unharmed.
Me too.
The only thing I thank Nick for is introducing me to the Killstream.
Well, I thank him for that too, and I thank you for watching. So it's not that we take it lightly, on any of these figureheads, and especially Fuentes himself and people who are backing him. No, that's not what I'm saying. Well, and I'm not sorry says sometimes pointing and laughing is the best approach. True, but also I don't feel like that really does the type of damage that needs to be done. So there have been a lot of people pointing and laughing for quite some time. But this last month, almost month of sustained assault, I would argue. Now, it helped that the ground had been prepared with the laughing and stuff like that. But I would argue that the bombs have been falling, and it's been effective. But yeah, you're right. I think that the groundwork was laid, quite frankly, by other people other than me. And it was kind of ready for the wrecking crew to come through, or, at that point. So yeah, I kind of agree, but also I don't want to say that's all I'm doing, right? Because I'm kind of more active in like actually trying to bring them down. But when you talk about your rank and file member, most of them are young. Yeah, you're right. At the cult members, yeah, okay, I see what you mean. Most of them are young, and all of them are deluded, and so they're like in a trance. They're brainwashed, really. I mean, to be quite frank. And so when you're dealing with people who are brainwashed, you almost have to be a little sympathetic and hope that they'll see the light. Now, that doesn't mean you take it easy if they step at you, or, you're going at some of their figureheads. That's not what that means. But for the average rank and file guy, you have to be a little accepting. Jaden talks about this fairly often too, where it's like the goal is to get them out of there. The goal is to break this sick organization. And yeah, you have to have the hammer, you have to have the fire, but you also have to have the open embrace too. That outreached hand, like, hey, you can get out of this. Like, you don't have to hang around this. So I am very receptive to that argument too.
Username Ismaname sent $3 Nick is Kiev. We are Russia with 3 lines of defense, air support, and artillery. We need them to raise the white flag, and after they surrender we nuke Nick lol.
Well, even Ali Jamal, believe it or not, all that shit I said earlier, and it was very harsh. But if he was to message me and say, hey, Ralph, I was wrong. You know what? I need to get out of this. I would help him. Now, that may sound crazy considering what I said earlier. But even Ali Jamal, if he were to message me and was like, "Look, I see what you're saying. Holy shit, this thing is fucked, and help me get out of this, right? Like, help me get away from this." I'll try to help him. So that's kind of what I'm saying here. Now, he's a more known case, but I would be like that for any of them. Even Judas Jamal is right. Okay, here's what Nick said. I don't know if there's a timestamp on this or not. We still didn't finish the Beardson clip. We played it earlier, but
this is the Apex Series Pro Steel Series. I like it a lot. You notice I got if you can't see it, but I got a little dancing Pepe right there. The old Shalit maneuver. No, the old Shalit. Let me face cam here for a second. Let me get back to the face cam before I even look at these cards. The old Shalit maneuver is telling somebody you want to play games with them, and then popping pills and getting fucked up, and then passing out while you're in the middle of playing them. I just didn't show up. Okay, I at least saved you guys a little time. Okay, Shalit will just fucking pop pills and then drink and be like, I'm a fucking retard. Let me pass out. Yeah, fuck him. He's dead to me. That's the old Shalit maneuver. This is the Apex.
Nate literally died.
Ralph Amali Respector
next
sent
day.
$5. Their strategy against Jaden relied on him being alone.
Yeah, it did.
The strategy against you relied on you being drunk.
That's right.
Their strategy against Baked relied upon him killing himself. They are failing on all fronts. Ralph W's pilling up. They must be destroyed.
Not pilling up. Piling up. We're not pilling up. Yeah, you're right. And you saw it in their cup. They're like, "Oh, drink another and do this or that." It's like, I ain't drinking shit this whole fucking time that I've been on you motherfuckers. I haven't even thought about drinking.
Tommy Magnum 292 sent $3. Beardzoy is so unhinged.
Thank you, Tommy.
Needs to get laid ASAP. Great show again.
But yeah, and you mentioned it with Jaden. Their whole strategy was isolate him, ostracize him. I mean, these are common cult things, by the way. And I didn't want to see it back then. But these are common, like, cult tactics, specifically the ostracization. All right. He whines forever before he...
January 6th, Baked Alaska, that is.
Okay. When does he actually get to
You
it?
can't condemn me. I'm not an anti-Semite. Okay. Jail for 50 days.
Okay.
Like a pedophile. You know, everybody knows that Milo got canceled back in 2017 because he was...
Okay, well, see, this talking point just completely falls flat. We know the comments. We saw them earlier yesterday. I saw them when they happened. Go ahead.
Sinetti à centaines de dollars, ils
What?
ne comprennent pas encore. Ce n'est qu'un début.
Okay, well, you linked up with Milo right after. What do you mean everybody knows? Well, you didn't have a problem with it. Get up! That is French. You're correct. Where's Stefan? He can speak French. I cannot. That's right, Bob Bosef. I was looking for a platform to stream, not a cult. Right. Master Chief, where you at? Yes, that's correct. And he explained that, Funny Valentine. Milo never molested anyone. He was molested and rationalized it, bruh. And he talked about this. We watched the clip with him and Franson, actually. I mean, he said this himself. We haven't talked about it, but this was in public. He was raped as a child. And so he's trying to rationalize his own sexual assault. Which, okay, don't say those things, but that's pretty common as well. Extremely common. So, and he talked about this, and this is also part of it, where you do that because you don't want to like accept that those things happen to you, so you turn into something else, basically. Capital City still plays Halo 3 every day. That's right, Jacuzzi. Fuck, I lost the tab. Where'd it go? Thank you, Cynthia. I appreciate that. I think chat liked that one, too. I think chat enjoyed that one. What?
Ralph Amali Respecter sent $5. Nick seemed to think you're over the hill or whatever.
Yeah.
Actually, at 10 years in the game, you are just becoming a master at your craft. Nick the new fag. Ralph is just coming into his prime.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because it seems like he thought that. And it's like, well, as a broadcaster and as a host, 10 years in is like right when you're hitting your stride usually. I've had some issues, and I got some issues still, and I don't know how they'll go in my personal life, etc. But that's kind of when you're actually getting you've kind of just gotten all the experience. Not that you need, but like you're like primed, basically. He seems to think that because he has no frame of reference, and he still thinks like a child, even though he's about to be 25 years old. And so he wants to be, 19 forever, and he's rapidly approaching 30. And, he sees somebody my age, and he's like, oh, this guy can't do this or that. And it's like, yeah, actually, I'm a lot better at this than you by far. Now, you're good at leading a cult. You're good at deluding followers, but I don't try to do that. I just entertain and interview and host events and stuff like that. And, he can't hold a candle to me at that. He's lost anytime he tries to do something like that. Tom Pappert says 10,000 hours to master skill. That's right. Yeah, they mentioned Limbaugh didn't really hit his prime until 49. That's right. Just think about when he took over in the early 90s, even late 80s. Well, he still had 30 years of top-tier broadcasting. I'm not out digging ditches. I'm not climbing on the buildings, right? Like, I can sit here and talk until I die. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. And then you build up institutional memory, and people, my show, it's controversial, sure, but, like, there's a lot of people who remember a lot of things from the show for a reason.
Talking about how 13-year-old boys can have sex with adult men, and it's actually a good thing, he said. And I pointed this out on a stream a few months ago when Marjorie was attacking me. It's like he was a grown-ass man. He was like 30.
Okay, just get to the lies.
You were 28. During Milo's tour, he had two 18-year-old twinks sleeping in his bed with him. And 18 is in scare quotes because...
Okay, well, am I supposed to care if they're 18?
They're not 18. Flies them out. I guess that's the deal. Because he was never really cool with Milo. They kind of had this uneasy, dynamic.
Stefan said, Ralph is the Madonna of the internet, always reinventing himself, while Nick will always remain the same immature dork, hammering on the same points. Yeah, I'm big on second and third and fourth and fifth acts. Yeah, I think you almost have to. And of course, I'm kind of getting back to the old style. So I don't know that it's like a complete shift, but something needed to happen. Things were not going to last. And you can see, dude, I could see on Cozy, even before they pushed me to this, that it was dead and it wasn't coming back. Absent some event that we could never predict happening, it's not coming back. People don't want to go there. You've poisoned its image among the people that you needed to go there. And even when I was still there holding it down, it's like, it's hard to, I'm topping out 600-700 viewers on a bomb show. Now, it wasn't like that last year, but it was like that this year. Okay, well, what happened? Well, the guy who runs the site lied to everybody for months and is associated with Ollie Alexander and continues to talk to him every day and lied about his Ye involvement and took 2 or 3 months off from his show. And you could see that, I didn't need a fucking crystal ball to see that on Cozy. Now, I wouldn't have done anything about it, probably. Eventually, I would have. You saw me building up the Rumble and stuff like that, but, I wouldn't have done what I did unless I was provoked. But I could see that shit was dead when I was there. 300 viewers is not, that's not what I'm aiming for. I mean, traditionally, the show here, if it's at 1,000 a day, that's good. If it's below that, it's bad. No, let's give or take. If I have 800 viewers, that's fine. But
Username Ismaname sent $3. Ethan Ralph is like Tennessee football or Alabama. They may have an off year, but will always be a power football team.
That's a very good comparison.
Nick is Boise State.
That's a very good comparison. Traditional powers in the SEC. Well, I wouldn't mind getting up to 10,000 as well. But it's like there's a level there. And people don't understand the Killstream on YouTube. We were getting like 1,000 to 1,500 people was the average audience. Now it spiked huge there towards the end. And, we had a couple 10,000 shows and it was huge there during the end. And I would say the average there at the end with some spikes here and there was like 4 to 6K probably. But traditionally, if it's between 1 and 1.5, that's good. 300, 400, Jacuzzi was in that chat. It was not a given to even get up to 600. Right? And you're not drawing in any other viewers. Now, I was lucky enough to have a little bit of a pedigree with my show, so I could beat most of those people. But you're drawing from the same pool of people, really, at least until I took a lot of those people with me. And he's alienated so many others. And then a lot of people just don't want to go to Cozy and won't go there. So that wasn't going to change. And I don't see it changing now either.
Because, I had talked to Milo on a couple occasions in 2020 and 2021.
A couple thousand.
But they were never really tight. That is until Milo promised him to get back at me that he could be flown out to California. Now, as far as me and Milo are concerned, I wasn't sure about that kind of stuff because I had heard about that. But my approach on those kinds of allegations with anybody is like, file a fucking police report. I don't want to hear about so-and-so did this, so-and-so did that. It's like, if that's true, file a police report, show some evidence. And so, as far as Milo's concerned, I had heard that and that, I was always aware of that, but people can say whatever they want. And I'm not saying that Baked Alaska was lying or anything like that. I don't think that he was, but I was willing to give Milo the benefit of the doubt because I said, I'm only really hearing this from one person. What happened with him, though, is that when we really started to talk a little bit more in around 2021, that's when he literally converted to Catholicism and he threw his engagement ring in the ocean and all this. And, like I said, I gave him the benefit of the doubt. I said, okay, well, he's Catholic now. He's totally reneged on his former life and all this. And that is until I discovered that he was still sleeping with his husband when I was on the Yay campaign. And that's when I said, I never want to work with this guy ever again. And I did a whole stream about this.
That's complete
a few
lie.
months ago.
That's not why. That's not why he fucking had a falling out with Milo. He was mad at Milo because Milo had said, stop doing your show, which to be honest, that was fair, right? Like they were trying to do something big. And then I guess they had, some back and forth. And then Nick said something like, just you wait and see, or you'll be sorry, or something like that. Literally like a child would do in some film before they burn the family's house down or some shit, right? That's just completely false. Like literally false. Username is my name says, imagine making your idol your villain. Not a good idea.
Because I already did a stream on it. But, if you break down the timeline, it's like, when I met him, he was kind of on the verge. And then when he really converted, that's when I said, okay, maybe he's cool. And then back in November, I find out because somebody sent me all the receipts that he's still living with this husband. And not only that, but he's living with his husband in a campaign house paid for by Marjorie Greene. And they're like squatting. The landlord is like calling them and saying, you haven't signed the lease and you've already moved in. You're not paying your bills. Like he was literally getting fucking evicted from the Marjorie Greene campaign house, which he was squatting in with John
By the way,
Campbell.
I don't believe that that's true, but if it was, I give a fuck. Oh, he's living somewhere for free? Good. Smart. Fuck paying these leeches. Like, I mean, okay, is that supposed to? Wow, that just makes me think higher of him. Like, okay, I hope that's true. Yeah, show the receipts. Of course he never will. He always has all these. Look, they're not receipts if you can't show them. Receipts are things you can pull up on air. Oh, I got receipts. Okay, that means there's going to be some shit on air. Oh, it doesn't mean, oh, I got anonymous sources, so I can't say anything. Which I've used anonymous sources too. But, like, I don't then say I have receipts.
And then I double checked it. I went online and I saw the disbursements that were being paid to Milo from the campaign were going to the same address that John Campbell is at if you go on any people search app. So at that point, I said, clearly this guy's not legit. He was on drugs and doing all this stuff. Anyway, but the point is, like, this is what's going on. Now, after I find out that Baked Alaska took the trip, he basically, knowing that Milo was a pedophile, having witnessed it, and knowing that Milo is still a homosexual and therefore perhaps still a pedophile, he took the trip because he desperately wanted to chase a cloud of Kanye. And this is where I get to the big bombshell tonight, which I found out about a month ago or so. After all this went down and everybody's talking about it and, there's chatter within the ranks about what's happening, I get a tip from somebody who knew our mutual friend Shalit. Shalit,
Here we go.
Live streamer on D Live. He was a friend of mine. He was a friend of Baked Alaska's. They were totally tight. And for those who don't know, it's actually very tragic and very sad, but Shalit died several years ago, I think in October 2020. And he died.
He did die in October 2020. October 9th, the day before. Or maybe Beardson's made those early on October 9th. Then he's found dead. So let's listen here.
Really, I think he was struggling with addiction. There was a lot of, and this is a story often told. He had a really serious injury.
That's true, Artax.
And for those that don't know, I think he passed out and took a nasty fall. And I don't want to get into all the gory details, but I mean, he was in pretty rough shape. And
you don't want to get
this all happened during the COVID pandemic, and a lot of people, I think, had the same situation when you're locked inside and you're going through an injury like that. You could see how these factors create a really awful situation. And anyway, that to me, it was like case closed. That was the story. But I learned a terrible thing about a month ago.
This is complete evil, by the way. I just take in how fucking evil this is. Which
I didn't really want to bring up ever, but as long as I'm getting accused of things and I'm being attacked, I think this is relevant because, these are the kinds of people that are attacking me. This is like, my character gets attacked all the time. And so therefore, the only counter-Semitic right-wing Christian movement is going to be sabotaged by a bunch of fucking dirtbags with lame personal attacks. We
don't need you for counter-Semitic. You little fucking closeted homosexual. We don't need you to lead any fake-ass Catholic movement. We don't need you for anything except a fucking prison cell or something else. You're not needed nor wanted. And people despise you for a very good fucking reason.
Ralph Amali Respecter sent $5. I actually think this Shalit story is totally rehearsed the way he's talking.
Of course it is. Correct. It's rehearsed? Yes, 100%.
This is who's doing this. This is who's selling out and betraying this cause. This is the kind of character.
I was never part of your cause.
Ralph Amali Respecter sent $5. I heard this terrible thing.
Yeah, it's definitely rehearsed. That's what they don't understand. Yeah, I supported because I thought these guys were cool. I thought they were my friends. Yeah, I agreed with them on some shit. A lot of shit I didn't agree with them on and don't now. Like, I've never been that type of person. A lot of those people always struck me as weird. But it's like, oh, they're weird, whatever. Okay, yeah, I don't agree with them on everything. But I'll still support them. I'll still cheerlead it. Which was a mistake, obviously. But that was where I was at. I was never like, I don't want a Catholic theocracy at all. I think that's crazy. It's never going to happen. Demographically, it's impossible. And I would never want Nick Fuentes at the head of any government, much less the United States government. And I always knew there was zero chance he would ever be taking power in any way whatsoever. Like, that's just crazy talk. But no, I don't support a Catholic theocracy. There aren't enough Catholics in the United States for that to even happen in the first place. It's not even logical. You'd have a much better chance of a Protestant theocracy than you would of a Catholic theocracy, and Catholics being thrown in prison is what you'd have a lot better chance of. I'm just being honest, not to offend any Catholics, by the way. Well, yeah, theocracy is directly against the Constitution. Well, yeah, that goes without saying, I think, but you would have a better chance of it being a Protestant theocracy.
That we have. These are the people that are doing it. So like I said, the case was basically open and shut on Shalit a few years ago. That is until I learned something recently from another mutual friend who was actually extremely close to Shalit and someone who I've known also for years. And he told me this. This was about a month ago. He said, before Shalit passed, he did a stream weekend with Baked. And even Baked Alaska posted those receipts today. I'm actually glad he did because it proves what I'm about to say. Literally a few days before Shalit died, Baked Alaska was streaming with him for a week.
Wrong. Lie. Literally a few days. Incorrect. Because we have the receipts. Literal, actual receipts that we can show. And by the way, I think he may just be making this up out of thin air, but I have an idea if somebody did say this, who it is. I wonder if Bake's thinking the same person. Because we both know this person. I tend to think he just made it up out of thin air, but I have a really strong suspicion. There's almost nobody I could think of that would say that except this person. And we both know him for a while. But I tend to think he just made it up out of thin air. But if there is somebody else involved, I have an idea who it might be. But I'll just leave it here because it's unsubstantiated. But I tend to think really it's just something that he made up. But I shouldn't reveal my hand too much on air. But anyway, he said literally a few days before. These are the days that Shalit was with Baked. 8/27 and 8/28. That was about a month and a half before he died. So that's a lie. A big one. And negates the whole entire thing. The whole thing was preposterous in the first place. But to dig a dead guy up, metaphorically, and use them in this way when there are huge receipts proving you're full of shit is pathological and just insane.
Week. Everybody watched it. It was on D Live. So he says, before Shalit passed, he did a stream weekend with Baked. He told me privately that while he was off camera that weekend, Baked made sexual advances towards him. He was being 100% serious at the time. He didn't know what to do about it. I knew him very well, and Shalit and I were very close. We talked daily on the phone. I almost got him a job at my last company. I visited his gravesite at the mausoleum where they placed his body. I keep in touch with his parents. I know the drug use was bad towards the end. I agree that that would call things into question, he said. But I can tell you that Shalit was sober and being 100% serious when he was talking to me about it. It wasn't like, haha, Baked is gay. It was like Baked came on to me and I'm fucking freaked out about it. So then things start to make a little bit more sense to me. First of all, this is a horrible, tragic situation because I don't think it's a leap at all to suggest that you're a person that's struggling. Somebody who you consider an extremely close friend visits you, and then they come on to you. I don't think that's a stretch to say that that plays a part because within a few days, Shalit was gone.
Wrong. Lie.
And
gigantic lie.
A big thing to insinuate, but I also think I think it logically follows.
Within a few days, Shalit was gone. Okay, that's just flat out untrue, and we know it's untrue because there's archives of every fucking thing that happened in 2020, and you just made that up. And you're a lying piece of shit who's trying to fucking stand on a dead body to scandalize a former friend. And literally the sickest act I've ever seen in this sector, or even adjacent to it. And one of the sickest things I've ever seen in my life. Absent, like, you know, some of these sick crimes or sick pedophiles that you read about. Well, there's plenty of sick pedophiles in AF. But it's actually one of the sickest things I've ever, like, personally witnessed.
You're somebody who, again, it's the middle of the pandemic. Everybody's cooped up inside. Clearly, Shalit was struggling and having these issues. And then his best friend comes over and tries to have sex with him and is freaked out and tells his other close friend and says, I'm freaked out. Like, this is 100% legit. I'm sober and I don't know what to do about this. And within a few days, the worst case scenario happens. It's just a horrible, utterly horrible situation, which I've never heard that prior to about a month ago. But you know what? It makes sense. And Baked Alaska never talked about that, and nobody ever talked about that. But it would make a lot of sense because then you start to peel back the layers and you see that, you know, when Milo and Baked Alaska were drugging and raping underage guys at college, allegedly, they were also jumping into bed together. There's all these pictures that are out there which nobody can really explain.
Yes, we can explain them, you idiot fucking child. I was a thing then when it fucking happened. Now, would I have done that? Probably not. But they were all over Twitter. They were trolling on Twitter. It was a publicity stunt. There are all kinds of photos. I saw them when they posted them. And I laughed. Now, would I have done it? Maybe not. Maybe not. But it was funny. Right? Nobody for 1 second thought there was anything going on with Milo and Baked. Not for one single fucking second. I never thought it then. I don't think it now. Yeah, Baked explained it, but you guys are trolling though, right? Like, I mean, like there's one with the money and like they're, you know, yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. You were trolling. I saw it at the time. Now, yeah, Milo and Gavin did make out. Now, if you'd made out, that, but they're not really, you know, that's to another level of trolling. But we talked about that. Actually, Milo was in the chat, I think, when we talked about that a couple weeks ago. And he was like, it was terrible because Gavin tried to, like, it was so bad because he tried to, like, knock my socks off. Like, it wasn't just like it was a stunt kiss, but he, like, also just, like, really went for it rather than just, you know, hamming it up. So Milo, if you watch the footage, he is like a little... like he was about to prove something. Like, oh, whoa, you're missing out on this. That had me laughing so hard. Yeah, exactly. Bake says, I wouldn't do it today, obviously, LML, but it was 5 years ago. I know, I was around. But I never saw anybody saying, oh, wow, they're really fucking. Like, oh, my God. Nobody thinks that at all. I mean, maybe some of these retarded cultists maybe take it up now. But all those pictures were out there for years. Like, it's just completely ridiculous.
Together multiple times. They're cuddling each other. They're making out.
They're not making out. They didn't make out. That's false. They were cuddled up in one of the pictures. There was no making out. Now, Gavin and Milo did make out, but...
Pictures, I'll put them on the Jumbotron right now. I posted them today. And, you know, for the longest time, I always thought that was a joke. I thought, like, you know, oh, that's just silly, goofy stuff, you know.
What's
maybe
a joke?
That's just a joke. It's just a meme. But I just threw it up on the Jumbotron. I mean, there they are, kissing. I mean, they're kissing. They're in bed together. They're in bed together with their shirts off. They're cuddling. I thought that was a joke. Then it starts to make sense. And then you find out that they're going around doing cocaine, having sex with guys that are underage. There's no proof that they're 18, according to Baked Alaska. And he's kept that quiet for years. I don't know why. He's never alleged that publicly. And then you get this picture where he's sucking on a dildo.
By the way, that's also not true. He didn't suck on the dildo in the picture. He's like acting like he's about to stick it in his mouth, which he doesn't do. Now, somebody was screen recording the Skype call or recording it with their phone. Don't you think if that existed, they would have posted that? Now, should he have done that? Probably not. But he didn't suck it. He just acted like he's about to suck it. So, I mean, another troll, basically, right? Now, should he have done that? No. But if he had put it in his mouth and sucked it, don't you think that there would be fucking footage of that? That's right. Catboy Cammy did. That's correct. Yeah, and it's tiny. He talked about it earlier. It's like a gag toy. Yeah.
Which I thought was fake for a long time, which people have confirmed to me is real. He's on a Skype call literally sucking down a dildo.
No.
And I don't know what the explanation is for that either. You know, I never thought of all those things put together because you never really think about it like that, you know? I mean,
you're right.
Girlfriends and stuff like that, so I just assumed, you know, this is totally
He's
legit.
making a very good case against himself with the Catboy Cammy stuff. Yeah, you're right.
This is, you know, maybe this thing's a joke. That's whatever.
Right, it's a joke. It's something you wouldn't do. Right, like I saw Baked in chat. It's another thing I wouldn't do today. Yeah, I know. Like, fuck. There's some shit I wouldn't do today either, right? Like,
you're kissing Milo. You're in bed with him with your shirts off while Milo's on drugs, drugging up people where we don't even know how old they are. You never come forward with that publicly. You never go out and make that accusation. Then you're going around sucking on dildos. Then we hear about this story. And then everything else starts to fall into place. And I start to wonder, is it just that Baked Alaska wanted to meet Kanye that bad? Or is there more to the story here? Are they partners in crime? Are there two people involved? And, you know, that is really, I think, the most disturbing aspect about this whole story is that clearly there's some fucked up stuff going on in that scene. This isn't the first individual that's been called out like this, whether it's Victor Sharp, who's involved with Jaden, and another donor who's just been identified to us, which we'll be perhaps revealing that shortly. We have to investigate the whole situation. But clearly,
they mean docs, by the way,
going on than what we're being told.
We have to investigate this. They're talking about. He's talking about doxing, which again, I don't care, but like, okay, just tell the truth. Oh, you're about to dox this guy. Oh, you want to make sure the dox is legit. I mean, investigate. Yeah, you're gonna reveal his personal information. Like,
were their partners in crime for the last 7 years, in bed, making out, sucking on dildos together, drugging kids, apparently making advances to people that can't even talk about it because they're not here, and maybe that's part of it. It's part of this pattern.
We need to get Ali Jamal on the line. Sent $5. There's a real possibility Ali Jamal was groomed by Snowflake guys.
Yeah, he hangs with
He's
them.
talked about them in the fog group chats even in his early callens. Of course, anyone normal person had no idea what he was blabbering on about.
I didn't at the time.
Ali Jamal, innocent or guilty?
Well, I didn't at the time, but after I got out and I'm never fully in, but got disassociated. Come to find out, yeah, he hangs out with them all the time, and they put all these thoughts in his head. And he's kind of like their mascot. Yeah, that's true. Which I didn't know, but
Username Ismaname sent $3. I was all about Milo when he was full gay. I stayed in a hotel with him. I was besties with Baked King after he sucked on a dildo. I used Ethan Ralph as my battering ram. They're all now gay and I'm straight. Nick.
That's about the sum of it, yeah. That's about the sum of it.
Predatory behavior. And then all these years later, suddenly my friend who I've known for 7 years, 6 or 7 years, who I've stood by through everything, is going to flip on me on a dime out of nowhere and start posting all these slanderous attacks after he gets his all expense paid trip to meet Kanye, which is okay, he's a cloud chaser, but paid for and arranged by who? Well, the former client. The former client who's on record saying that 13-year-olds are fair game for gay men, for adult gay men. And you start to realize the forces that are against America first are far, far, far more sinister than maybe we even realized. Like, because again, I always thought for the longest time, because I'm young,
It's
I'm a
always
young guy.
You're not that young anymore, but it's always some sinister force, and it's never just he's a fucking closet homo who people don't like because he's a fake fuck.
Anonymous sent $3 whereas also had
That's
his
right.
girlfriend doxxed by Snowflake, then they logged him via parody Twitter accounts of the GF stud mom.
That's true.
Unfortunately, Fatty has to sweep it all up for the boss.
Where's Root's a disgrace? I don't even want to. He's an absolute disgrace to himself. He obviously just, I mean, not having hated myself here and there on occasion, but he obviously despises himself and has no real self-confidence and feels like he has to stick with this. Rolls or Roots. That's true, Baked Alaska. I didn't realize the extent of that either. But yeah, they doxed him. They doxed his girlfriend. They really hate his girlfriend for some reason. Probably because she's kind of funny. I've heard her on a panel before. And she dunked on these people so hard that they like started making fun of him, and then he like took her off the public stage because he's a weak cuck, honestly. Like, do you think I would ever bow to something like that? Like, I don't give a fuck what these faggots think. Oh, you don't like my girlfriend? Well, I don't like you, bitch. Like, you know what I mean? Like, where's obese?
And when I met all these people, when I met Baked Alaska, I was 19.
Yeah, well, keep telling yourself that, son. 27's not young. So, I mean, if you think that, more power to you, but it's not. I mean, it's younger than me, but that's not what I would call young.
Met Milo, I think I was 20 or 21. And so when you're that age, you don't know, you don't realize, you don't know anything. You just meet people and they're nice to you, and you're like, oh, okay, seems like a good person. They seem okay. But as I get older, I start to see this stuff, and I'm like, wait a second, is it a coincidence that Jaden McNeil flipped on me? And ever since then, his salary has been paid by a gay pedophile named Victor Sharp? Like, do you think that's a coincidence?
Anyway,
A year ago,
I don't want to hear all this because I really just wanted to play it to show what a lie it was and to, just refresh people's memory and show that he completely made this up. And not only did he completely make it up, he did it when there's a clip like this out there.
This is the
day before Shalit actually died.
This is the Apex Series Pro Steel Series. I like it a lot. You notice I got if you can't see it, but I got a little dancing Pepe right there. The old Shalit maneuver. No, the old Shalit. Let me face cam here for a second. Let me get back to the face cam before I even look at these cards. The old Shalit maneuver is
Ralph Amali Respecter sent $5. I knew when they banned Bake's channel. Oh, they're going to do the thing where they pretend this guy has been the evilest thing ever since he came out of the womb.
Yeah.
It's only happened 109 times before, for no reason at all.
I know, no reason at all. Yeah, I knew that too. I knew that they'd give me the same treatment too, but I don't give a fuck because I've had that treatment before. And so it's like, I'm battle hardened, motherfucker. So like, do your damnedest because I've had everybody coming at me at one point or another and just kept tanking on. So I already know these fuckers can't break me. If I get broken by anybody, it's going to be by me. I already know where my failings lie. And the only person really capable of breaking me is Ethan Ralph. And I see him in the mirror every day. And he's really good at it. I won't take anything away from that guy. He's very good at that. But it's me. Like, that's literally the main enemy of me is myself, right? Like,
The old Shalit maneuver. No, the old Shalit. Let me face cam here for a second. Let me get back to the face cam before I even look at these cards. The old Shalit maneuver is telling somebody you want to play games with them,
Thank you, Ralph,
and then
no
popping
respecter.
pills and getting fucked up and then passing out while you're in the middle of playing them. I just didn't show up. Okay, I at least saved you guys a little time. Okay, Shalit will just fucking pop pills and then drink and be like, I'm a fucking retard. Let me pass out. Yeah, fuck him. He's dead to me. That's the old Shalit maneuver.
15 away from this stretch goal. Very good support today. That's the old Shalit maneuver. Bringing it back around to Matt Evans, Beardson. When I originally saw this clip, I was very angry at Beardson. And was like, I'm going to break this guy. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, this is just flat out sick. This is supposed to be his friend. And like I said, talked it over with some people, and Beardson's not even worth that. Beardson is like a non-entity. It might as well be like an AI, a really badly designed AI bot or something. You know what I mean? Because you know what he's going to say. You know what he's going to do. Whatever the little sawed-off closeted Mexican tells him to do, or what he thinks he wants him to do, that's what he's going to do. He doesn't have any original thought on his own. He is blighted by the Lord above. You ever seen the cartoons where they're walking under a cloud and the cloud's just following that one person? Not that I haven't had clouds over me from time to time, but he's like that. Where he opens the door and the cloud's just there raining on him. It's not raining on anybody else. It's just raining on him. And you see him on air these days. I mean, people have noticed it in chat. It's like almost the end of the line for this guy. He has no joy in what he's doing. But that's Beardson. The cloud just follows him everywhere. I mean, who else but Beardson could be so ill-fated, so hated by the gods, as to appear to occasion someone's death by gloating? Listen, there's been a lot of wild shit said for sure on air, but he said it and then the guy actually dies the next day. That's like a punishment from God. Do you understand? It's like he was punished by divine intervention. Who but Beardson Beardley, Matt Evans, could be such a hostage to fortune? Such a jester, such a clown, such a fucking fool. Now, I do think there's a lesson here against gloating in that despicable way. You know, against saying some things. And I could learn this lesson too from time to time, for sure. And, you know, I've seen this tendency in myself. And, you know, I know we have the reputation here on the Killstream. You know, we don't shy away from the dark arts. We don't shy away from fighting fire with fire. And that's a reputation that I like. But this actually hit me pretty hard. You know what I mean? Like, watching this, and I replayed it many times today, and I watched it more than that off air last night. And, you know, I'm no stranger to addiction troubles at all. And, you know, to see how casually he throws this out, and then I didn't know, you know, I knew he was talking shit, but I didn't realize it was literally the day before he died. And, you know, I just hope in the future, people watching the show, you know, that we can be better than this empty vessel, this husk of a human. Especially to our friends, which Shalit was allegedly a friend of his. But even to strangers. To keep that, and again, it's not that I'm going to stop going hard or anything like that. But even to keep that just keep a little bit of empathy. Even for people I don't like at all. But definitely for my friends. But even for an enemy, quote unquote. Even for a critic. Because if you lose that completely, if you throw out the empathy altogether, then you're not human. You become something else. And again, that doesn't mean you take it easy. That doesn't mean you let people roll over you or you don't respond. But if you lose all empathy, if you lose all consideration for your fellow man, then you're not, that's inhumane. That you're no longer human. You're no longer a part of all this. You've separated yourself out into another category. And, you know, it's sobering for me in that, you know, I've said some harsh things and some things that, although he seemed to mean that, I don't know, you can ask him, but I've said some things that were very incendiary and, you know, kill yourself. I even said that to the guy earlier. Of course, I immediately retracted it. You know, you get caught up in all this. But if you let all that, the faggotry and AF, if you let all that change you to such an extent that you no longer have any real feeling like a normal human would, then you're gone. You're lost and you might not ever come back. Because it's hard once you take it there, once you go there. You see, for a person like Beardson, it's just a way of life for him now. Like, nobody has to tell him that. Nobody, you know, he just takes his cues and reacts, and that's just how he is. Right? That's why, far from getting angry at him, although I was angry when I first saw it, he's a pitiable creature. He is someone we should feel sorry for. And, you know, of course we're going to laugh at him still, I'm sure. You know, I'm not taking any of that off the table. But this is really a guy who we should pity and feel sorry for because he's lost what it means to be a human. And he may never get it back. He's a small man in every sense of the word. And while it'd be easy for me to come out here and give you some fiery rant about what a piece of shit he is, it's really the sadness that should prevail when you see a case like Beardson Beardley. And what real prospects does this guy have? You know what I mean? And yeah, things are strained on the relationship front with me and my children, etc. That's true. But at least I have children. You know, the guy's knocking on 40 and he's still playing eighth fiddle to Nick Fuentes. And still desperately seeking the closet homosexual's approval and a pat on his head for being a good boy. That's sad. That is extremely sad. And it's one of the saddest things that you could see in this sector or in life itself. And so, very easy to dunk on Beardson. I'm sure we'll do it. I'm sure others will do it. But Beardson is a tragedy. His life is miserable, and there is almost no hope for him on the horizon. Nick himself doesn't even like Beardson, doesn't really want to be associated with him. He just knows it'd be more trouble than it's worth. Makes fun of him in photographs. So the one guy that he really wants the pet on the head from, he really wants to hear good boy, treats him with this disdain, treats him like a fucking circus freak, and treats him like yesterday's news. What he would enjoy more than anything in life is a feature from Nick or some type of acknowledgement or some type of promotion. And Nick is too busy trying to suck off Sneeko and trying to cozy up to Zerka and trying to get on Fresh and Fit. Beardson's not even an afterthought. He's not a thought. Do you understand? He's not a thought at all. And when you see a man who wants nothing more than to be that thought in Nick Fuentes' head, and he has nothing, and he's like treated like the relative that they used to keep up the attic back in the day. You know, understand what I'm saying? They don't really do that anymore usually, but hide this person away when the good people come by. We got somebody we want to impress, put him in the back. Like we can't have him out here. That's how Beardson is treated. And you know, anger toward him, you know, why even get angry at a guy like that? I can guarantee you he's more angry at himself and more disgusted with his own life than we could ever be. I guarantee you. 100% guarantee you. Sadness is the emotion. Pity. Even that little bit of empathy that I talked about. Because we're human, unlike Matt Evans. And that's how we want to stay. Thank you for joining me on today's Killstream. And thank you for the support. And I'll see you tomorrow.
I will remember you. Will you remember me? Don't let your life pass you by. Weep not for the memories. I'm so tired, I can't sleep. Standing on the edge of something much too deep. afraid to lose, clinging to a past that doesn't let me choose. Where once there was a darkness, a deep and endless night. You gave me everything you had, all you gave me life. And I will remember you. Will you remember me? Don't let your life passing by. Weep not for the memory. I will remember you. Will you remember me? Don't let your life pass you by. Weep not for the memories. Weep not for the memories.
Thank you for watching this clip. This is the CAC. Remember to like and subscribe.